Part 147. After the Flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1461. Chapter 1461, Designing to Manman 3. Xinglu, don't be so disobedient, just go home with your mother. Lu Rong's eyes flashed with a hint of cunning, and then she walked up to Tang Xinglu with a sad face, pulling her daughter to go outside. Go away. Tang Xinglu's unruly nature exploded and she waved her mother away. Lu Rong, who was waved away by Tang Xinglu, sat down on the ground and looked at her daughter in disbelief. Xinglu, I told you to get out and stop disturbing my drinking. Can't you hear me? Tang Xinglu roared angrily. Seeing Lu Rong's aggrieved and pitiful expression, she felt annoyed. The rebellious mentality makes her not want to see all her family members, especially her mother. Her mother, whom she loved most since she was a child, only discovered when she grew up that her mother was not the kind of person she expected, which made her even more painful. Tang Xinglu's rebellious phase came relatively late, not until she was 20 years old. She didn't want to go home or see her parents. Qian Yuman frowned and looked at the mother and daughter making trouble with some depression. She seems to have come to the wrong place today. She shouldn't have come. But considering that Tang Xinglu was Tang Yu's sister, she still had to give her some advice. However, judging from the attitude of Tang Xinglu and Lu Rong, if they continue, there will definitely be a huge quarrel. Qian Yuman knelt down and helped Lu Rong up kindly. Lu Rong nodded to her gratefully. Will you go home with me today? No reply. Old woman, Tang Xinglu sneered again. Lu Rong looked at her daughter with tears streaming down her face, twitching and crying sadly. Xinglu, you have disappointed your mother so much. If you want to fend for yourself outside, just fend for yourself. Mom doesn't care about you anymore. After saying that, Lu Rong ran away crying, leaving Tu Lu easily twitching his mouth in embarrassment. What the hell, Lu Rong is gone. Lu Rong, who ran away crying, quickly walked out of the door and disappeared from the sight of Qian Yuman and the others. Lu Rong walked out of the bar and saw the gangsters he had found before, including those with criminal records. They also found her with money. These people all collected expensive banknotes from her just to plot revenge on Qian Yuman and make her a broken shoe. Madam, 3 or 4 hooligans walked over casually. Since you have my money, you must help me get things done today. You must give me Qian Yuman and turn her into a broken shoe so that Tang Yuj is not willing to marry her again. The hatred she felt back then made her hate the couple deeply. Her evil thoughts made her have to take revenge on Qian Yuman. Even if the fish was dead and the net was broken, it was even more regrettable that she had someone to help her. Where are the people? Lu Rong and the gangsters hid in a corner, pointing at Qian Yuman, who was talking to Tang Xinglu not far away, with her back to them. That's the woman in the striped coat. I've already reserved a room for you. You can just drag her away. Lu Rong threw away a hotel room card for the hotel upstairs. Everything was as she expected. Madam, don't worry, we will definitely get it done. The smile on the gangster's face turned very obscene. It would be an idiot not to do this kind of thing where you can play with women and take advantage of others. Lu Rong nodded, the smile on her lips became more and more sinister and terrifying, her face was ferocious, she was already celebrating in her heart in advance. After Lu Rong left, Qian Yuman and Tang Xinglu were still standing face to face. You're not leaving yet. Tang Xinglu's expression softened a lot after finally driving her mother away, but there was still a nasty person present. I really didn't know what this woman was here for, and she wouldn't leave with her. Ouch. Oh no, Manman is going to be raped. New book. Preview. There is only one day left, the article will be published tomorrow. 5.20. Climb onto the bed and I'll take a picture of you. Take off your coat. Take off one more piece. She was angry, pulled out all her hair, rushed towards him, tugged at his clothes and yelled. You have to take them off together, and you have to take them together. It's best not to wear anything at all. Come on. Hurt each other. A hot photo spread all over the world overnight. She became the heroine of the pornographic scandal and the most interesting person in the country, just because she had a fight in the car. Since then, she has been living a perverted life. The male protagonist of the pornographic school has taken control of her and forced her to take various role-playing photos. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1462. Chapter 1462 Designing Manman 4. Tang Xinglu's expression softened a lot after finally driving her mother away, but there was still a nasty person present. I really didn't know what this woman was here for, and she wouldn't leave with her. Ha ha ha. I don't want to stay with you anymore. It's not for your eldest brother, I won't come to persuade you. It doesn't matter if you don't go back, at least the Tang family has one less person I hate. Jian Yuman deliberately said it to provoke Tang Xinglu. If she is not a person who likes to say nice things, and she can't say nice things to Tang Xinglu. Even if she says nice things to persuade her, she will not get any response from Tang Xinglu. Instead, she will get a lot of sarcastic remarks. It's not easy to say something to irritate her. I believe that given Tang Xinglu's current mood, saying something ironic would actually make her want to go back. Sure enough, Jian Yuman's move was very effective. Tang Xinglu pushed away the man hugging her and grinned at Jian Yuman angrily. Jian Yuman, don't be too arrogant, brother, you are not alone, don't expect to have a smooth stay in the Tang family. I will drive you away sooner or later. Jian Yuman shrugged and waved. You still want to drive her away, just dream. Jian Yuman deliberately glanced at Tang Xinglu's dress and surrounding environment, and smiled sarcastically. You evil woman. Tang Xinglu was furious and picked up a bottle of wine and threw it at Jian Yuman. Jian Yuman did not retreat. Instead, she reached out and slapped the wine glass away. The wine in the glass splashed onto Tang Xinglu's clothes, spreading bright red. Jian Yuman, Tang Xinglu was anxious. She looked down at her clothes and then glared at Jian Yuman. Oh, it's so beautiful, Jian Yuman smiled sarcastically. You. Tang Xinglu stamped her feet angrily, and the wine on her body made her feel uncomfortable. You want to insult me, I'm just fighting back. Since you won't go back, then I will leave happily and tell Yuj that his sister is not coming home. Jian Yuman waved her hand to leave. Tang Xinglu grabbed Jian Yuman's hand and said angrily. You're dreaming, I'm going home now to see how arrogant a woman like you is. A glimmer of light flashed in Jian Yuman's eyes. She was indeed a smart genius. Take off your coat. As Tang Xinglu spoke, she began to tear Jian Yuman's clothes off. The clothes were put on casually, with a vest underneath, so it didn't matter if I didn't have a coat. However, seeing that Tang Xinglu's clothes were a bit miserable, it was her fault, so he asked her to take off her coat without saying anything. Tang Xinglu took off her coat, glared at Jian Yuman, and went to the bathroom to change out of her coat. Jian Yuman pursed his lips and glanced around. He hadn't been to such a lively bar for a long time. How about having a cocktail before leaving? Feel the excitement of the bar and pretend you are still young. Jian Yuman walked to the bar and ordered a cocktail. She sat at the bar and waited for Tang Xinglu to change her coat, then took it away and threw it back to Tang's house. The gangsters commanded by Lu Rong did not see Jian Yuman when they arrived at their location. Where is the person? Go and look around quickly. A few gangsters spread out to look for him. After looking around for a while, he was not there and looked towards the toilet. Let's go to the toilet to look for it. Several gangsters walked towards the toilet again. Tang Xinglu, who put on a striped coat, looked glamorous again and walked out of the toilet slowly. Several idle gangsters walked towards her, and the evil eyes of those gangsters kept scanning her body, making her very uncomfortable. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1463. Chapter 1463, Losing One's Virginity 3. Sister-in-law, Tang Xingla cried and called Qian Yuman. This was the only time she called Qian Yuman sister-in-law from the bottom of her heart. Qian Yuman's image at this moment has completely changed in Tang Xingla's heart. She is no longer the woman she hates the most, but the person who saves her. She had tasted the love of men and women as early as high school, and had several men, but she was willing to do those. This is a defilement that cannot be stopped no matter how hard she struggles, shouts, or begs for mercy. If Qian Yuman had not appeared, she would have been raped by several men today to minimize her harm. Let her go quickly, Qian Yuman roared, her momentum surged, and she brought out Qi Lili's terrifying aura, like a cruel woman who would give the two men who were holding Tang Xinglu a blow at any time. Gun. The two gangsters were frightened by Qian Yuman's momentum and ran away, ignoring the unknown boss on the ground. Qian Yuman turned his head and narrowed his eyes dangerously. When he saw the hotel management who came to rescue people after hearing the news at the door, Qian Yuman roared angrily. Catch them. This group of accomplices must not be allowed to escape. Qian Yuman stepped over the gangster boss, not daring to look at Tang Xinglu's miserable look. He turned down her skirt with his own hands, straightened the torn clothes, took out a handkerchief, wiped the tears on her face, and held the poor Tang Xinglu in his arms. Xinglu, it's okay. It's all over. The person who defiled you has been killed by me. No one will hurt you again. Although Tang Xinglu is very annoying, and although she is targeted at every turn, she does not deserve to suffer such cruel things. She is just a willful, unruly, and spoiled young lady with no real intentions. Growing up under the tutelage of a woman like Lu Rong made her become like this. If she had a lot of discipline, she would definitely be a lovable little sister. Sister-in-law, Tang Xingla cried loudly and hugged Qian Yuman, wailing. As for Lu Rong, who was sitting in the cafe opposite the bar drinking coffee, she never imagined that the person who designed Qian Yuman's affair would accidentally kidnap Tang Xinglu. The door of the cafe was opened, and a young mother entered the cafe holding her son. The little boy ran quickly to the cake area, pointed at a cake shaped like a little tiger, and shouted excitedly. Mommy, Mommy, I want a little tiger cake, can you buy it for Wang Wang? The excited little boy is Xiao Wang Wang, the son of Yang Yanliu and Tang Xingai. The young mother next to him is Yang Yanliu, who is raising her son. Purchase. Mommy is the best. Little Wang Wang stood on tiptoes and kissed Yang Yanliu the cheek. LV Rong, who was sitting in the cafe waiting for the results of Qian Yuman's sexual intercourse, also noticed the young mother and son. Her eyes fell on Yang Yanliu's face, and her brows frowned slightly. Why does this young mother look so familiar? She must be 20 years old at most. Seeing that her son is 2 or 3 years old, it seems that she got pregnant and gave birth to a child underage. Etc. Why does this woman look so like the who pestered her son back then? The who ruined the relationship between her and her son. Lu Rong's eyes fell on the little boy's face, and she saw that the little boy was somewhat similar to her and 70% similar to her son. Lu Rong suddenly stood up from her seat. She had already recognized who the woman was. She was Tang Xingai's former girlfriend Yang Yanliu. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1464. Chapter 1464, Stealing the Child. Lu Rong suddenly stood up from her seat. She had already recognized who the woman was. She was Tang Xingai's former girlfriend Yang Yanliu. This woman is Yang Yanliu. Is the little boy who calls her mommy her grandson? The child who was aborted back then? Okay. Yang Yanliu, it turns out that you did not abort the child, but secretly gave birth to the child. Lu Rong walked quickly behind Yang Yanliu and her son, with a strange smile on her lips. Yang Yanliu, what a coincidence, I haven't seen him for more than 3 years. Yang Yanliu, who was buying a cake for his son, suddenly froze and looked back behind him. She would never forget the familiar voice that existed like a nightmare. She was awakened countless times in her dreams by the terrifying words "Leave my son." Perhaps one day she will forget Tang Xingai's voice, but she will never forget the source of her nightmare, the voice of Tang Xingai's mother. Turning around, she saw Lu Rong's face. For just a moment, her heart went cold. She took several steps back in disbelief and bumped into the counter behind her. The next moment, she pulled her son into her arms and looked at Lu Rong warily. LV Rong was in a good mood at the moment because she could sense that Jian Yuman had suffered her revenge. When she was completely unprepared, it would only take a few minutes for her to turn into a shabby shoe that Tang Yuj disliked and turn into a dirty woman. Then she met Yang Yanliu again, her son's former girlfriend. What surprised her even more was that this girl secretly gave birth to a lovely grandson for her. I can't believe that you gave birth to a son. You deceived me so miserably that I never had the chance to see my grandson born. When I saw him again, he was already this old. Lu Rong's eyes softened slightly when she looked at Xiao Wang Wang. After a while, he reached out his hand to gently touch the little guy's face. Yang Yanliu felt a chill in his heart. He held his son and turned away, not wanting Lu Rong to touch his son. What do you want to do? What do I want to do? Isn't it obvious? Of course, it is to take away my precious grandson. How can I, a descendant of the Tang family, be left alone? What's more, you took my money back then, so you should have given us, Tang, the custody of the child. Home. You have been hiding secretly for the past few years. I will settle the score with you later. Lu Rong was so arrogant that she reached out and grabbed Yang Yanliu's arm, and held Wang Wang with her other hand. Don't touch my son. This is my son. Yang Yanliu panicked. She was originally a weak and gentle woman, but she became strong when facing her children. Yang Yanliu dodged, picked up the child and ran out. She couldn't lose her son, she couldn't let him be taken away by this terrible woman. She would never abandon her son no matter what. You still want to hide? You think you can hide for a while, so you should just hand the child over to me. Lu Rong was not polite to Yang Yanliu. She grabbed little Wang Wang and pulled her on her body. Little Wang Wang was frightened and burst into tears. Come, follow Grandma. Grandma will take you to eat a lot of delicious food. Lu Rong had a ferocious face and fierce eyes. She did not care whether the child would be in pain or not, and pulled the child's arm vigorously, making little Wang Wang cry even more. Loud. Help! Someone is robbing the child, help! Yang Yanliu shouted for help at the top of his lungs, asking for help from the people around him. The onlookers were more or less aware of what had happened, walked between the two, and began to persuade them to stop Lu Rong from snatching the child. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1465. Chapter 1465. Your daughter has been defiled. 1. The onlookers were more or less aware of what had happened, walked between the two, and began to persuade them to stop Lu Rong from snatching the child. Don't be nosy. This child is my grandson. I want to take my grandson home now. Lu Rong waved her hands in disgust to drive away the nosy people around her. How come you are such a woman? It's great that you are a grandmother, but you are still the mother of a child. Even if you have a child, it is the father's business. You are too nosy, a middle-aged woman spoke uprightly. This lady is right. Even if you want to watch your child play with him, you can't use robbery, and it will hurt the child. As a grandmother, you are so cruel, why can't you talk well? A young woman agreed. The child was crying so loudly, it seemed like she didn't hear her. The middle-aged uncle crossed between the two of them and protected Yang Yanliu and the others behind him. I think she may not be the child's grandmother. What if the child's grandmother is so cruel? Even if she is, she won't have a good life with her. The waiter girl followed suit. Being criticized by a group of people, Lu Rong's expression was ugly, and she wanted to beat them all. It doesn't mean anything, it seems to be what she said. Yang Yanliu looked around gratefully, holding his son in his arms, and looked at Lu Rong eagerly. Seeing that she was surrounded by people, she couldn't break through for a while, so she turned around and ran out with her son in her arms, leaving this place of right and wrong. Yang Yanliu, where are you going? Return your grandson to me quickly. Lu Rong ran after him in an aura of excitement, but the middle-aged uncle blocked the way and prevented Lu Rong from chasing him. Lu Rong could only watch helplessly as Yang Yanliu left with her grandson in her arms. She was so angry with these nosy passers-by. While Lu Rong was arguing with the group of people, her cell phone rang. Lu Rong took out her cell phone with a stinky face. When she saw the call was from Qian Yuman, she raised her eyebrows in surprise. The phone call Qian Yuman gave her? Shouldn't she be enjoying the man she found now, taking turns serving him? Hey, Manman, you're looking for me, Lu Rong answered the phone and asked in a calm tone. Qian Yuman on the other end of the phone sounded a little depressed and remorseful. Auntie, where are you? Something big happened here. LV Rong raised her eyebrows. Something big happened. The big thing about her being taken turns to be served by your man? But why is her tone a little wrong? If she was really screwed by a man, she should be crying and have no intention of calling her. From her tone, it sounded like she had suffered a major blow, but not yet to the point of being turned around by a man. What's the big deal? Auntie, you have to be mentally prepared. I'm telling you, you must not get excited. Lu Rong smiled and reassured. What else can excite me? Are you going to marry Yuj? Lu Rong deliberately spoke in a relaxed tone, but felt angry in her heart. It seemed that those gangsters were unreliable and did not succeed in tainting this bitch, Qian Yuman. The tone of this woman's words was too calm. Something happened to Xinglu. Not long after you went out, Xinglu was dragged to the toilet by a few gangsters and raped. Qian Yuman said with annoyance and sadness. Things that happened. She felt very guilty at the moment. If she had gone to the toilet with Tang Xinglu at that time, she might not have encountered this incident. Now tragedy happened, she and Tang Xinglu came to the hospital together. Tang Xinglu was checking her body inside. She immediately secretly called Tang Yuj and Lu Rong. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1466. Chapter 1466. Your daughter has been defiled too. Now tragedy happened, she and Tang Xinglu came to the hospital together. Tang Xinglu was checking her body inside. She immediately secretly called Tang Yuj and Lu Rong. Tell them the bad news and the tragic experience that Tang Xinglu suffered. Lu Rong, who was on the other end of the phone, was stunned and shook her head, wondering if she had heard wrongly. Manman, are you kidding? This matter is not funny at all, Lu Rong said with a chuckle. She must have heard wrong or Qian Yuman was joking with her. The person who was raped should be Qian Yuman, how could she be her precious daughter? Although this girl spoke rudely yesterday, which made her very angry. Auntie, I know it's hard for you to accept, but that's the fact. Xinglu and I are in the hospital for a physical checkup, and the police are here to record a statement. I have already Comrade Yuj, who is on his way from the company. Jian Yuman's tone was heavy, not like he was joking, but even more sad. The smile on Lu Rong's face solidified little by little, and finally became ferocious, with her eyes as big as copper bells. How is it possible? How is it possible? How could it be that her daughter was raped? There was something wrong with it? I'll rush over right away. Lu Rong ran out quickly, and the people who had stopped her had already dispersed. One moment Lu Rong was happy about having a grandson, and the next moment she heard the sad news that her biological daughter had been raped. It was all so unbelievable. At the hospital, Jian Yuman accompanied Tang Xinglu. Tang Xinglu had already changed her clothes. In the high-end ward, she hugged Jian Yuman and kept crying. Facing such a terrible incident, it's scary to put yourself in their shoes. She will go to places like that less in the future. What if she is the victim one day? Tang Xinglu was crying very pitifully. She had been taking a long bath in the bathroom just now and kept saying that she had become so dirty. Jian Yuman, who was outside, felt sad. She is just a child who is too pampered to grow up. Although he is very temperamental, he will not suffer such terrible torture for women. Tang Yuj, who received the news immediately, was on his way home when he received a call from Jian Yuman and rushed here immediately. Some people were also sent to negotiate with the police station. They must ask the arrested gangsters why they did what they did to Tang Xinglu. I really don't know if the guy who defiled Tang Xinglu was lucky or unlucky. He was not shot to death by Jian Yuman and is still in the operating room rescuing bullets. When Tang Yuj came to the hospital, he saw the pitiful Tang Xinglu and his beloved woman. Mr. Tang, seeing Tang Yuj, Jian Yuman shouted excitedly. Tang Xinglu raised her head with tears in her eyes, her voice choked up when she saw her eldest brother. Brother. After saying that, he burst into tears again. What's going on? Jian Yuman just said it briefly on the phone. In front of Tang Yuj, Jian Yuman's story and Tang Xinglu's supplement made the story clear. You mean, when those people saw you, they dragged you to the toilet indiscriminately, without any warning at all? Yes, Tang Xinglu cried and nodded, her whole body weak from crying too hard. Had Jian Yuman been a little later, her broken body would have been defiled by more men. My new book is titled Abstinent Husband, Fake Innocence. Everyone, go and vote for recommendations. Collection. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1467. Chapter 1467, Tiger Poison Does Not Eat Seeds 1. Had Jian Yuman been a little later, her broken body would have been defiled by more men. She didn't even want to recall what happened at that time. She only wanted to think about her body being defiled by a stranger, and about being caught by 3 people and struggling helplessly, but to no avail. She was frightened, and even wanted to die. Where is Lu Rong? She's on her way. Humph, Tang Yuj sneered, and at the same time held Jian Yuman's hand with some fear. The further away you are from Lu Rong, the better. This woman is too vicious. Mr. Tang, what do you mean by this? Jian Yuman blinked in confusion. What does this matter have to do with Lu Rong? Don't you think it's strange? Why did 3 people appear and drag Xinglu to the toilet for no reason? They also said, she must be this woman, and admitted that someone had given them money, which proves that someone instigated them do it. Xinglu, did you offend someone? That's why you suffered revenge, Jian Yuman said. Tang Xinglu shook her head. She didn't know what she was talking about. Thinking of her elder brother's words just now, she suddenly raised her head and looked at him. But, what does this have to do with my mother? Because your mother instigated this matter, Tang Yuj said with a cold face and gritted teeth. It is not difficult to guess that all this is definitely related to Lu Rong. Ah! How is it possible? No matter how crazy Lu Rong is, It's impossible for her to find someone to her daughter. Jian Yuman was stunned and couldn't figure out what Lu Rong's purpose was for doing this. What was the benefit to her biological daughter? Because her intention is not to harm her daughter at all, but you are her target. Me, Jian Yuman pointed at herself. You're saying that I was the one Lu Rong wanted to kill, and Xinglu became the scapegoat. That's right. Those people found the wrong person. They thought Xinglu was you. Because Xinglu wore your clothes, she was misunderstood, which is why Xinglu suffered what happened. Why do you think Lu Rong asked you to go? Telling Xinglu to go home? Knowing that you and Xinglu were at odds, she left you alone in the end. Where did she go and what did she do? She simply asked a few men to you. It wasn't Xinglu who penetrated you. Clothes, you are the victim. When Tang Yuj figured this out, he felt scared for a while. Thinking that the person he suffered today might be his beloved woman, he wanted to kill Lu Rong. Even if it wasn't Jian Yuman, the person who was hurt was still his sister, and Lu Rong had no blood relationship with him at all. Whether she was alive or dead had nothing to do with him. Such people. Tang Xinglu broke down and cried again, and she was still crying. Her heart was broken when she thought that all her tragic experiences were caused by her biological mother. The dependence on my mother that I had relied on for many years was completely shattered. The image of mother has also become a vicious queen, black from the inside out. Is what you said true? Tang Wentao's cold and serious voice sounded from the door of the ward. Tang Wentao, who rushed over after hearing what happened to his daughter, heard Tang Yuz's analysis when he arrived at the door. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1468. Chapter 1468, Tiger Poison Does Not Eat Seeds Too. Tang Yuj turned around and saw that Tang Wentao was coming. He glanced carelessly and did not answer Tang Wentao's inquiry. Dad, you're here. Jian Yuman patted Tang Xinglu's shoulder to comfort her and looked at Tang Wentao with complex eyes. How to say? This matter is actually a bit complicated, especially for Tang Wentao. It is even more of a dilemma. His wife asked someone to have with her daughter-in-law, but she did it to her daughter. No one is more difficult to be a human being than him. Tang Wentao's face was ugly as he walked in step by step. Seeing his daughter's haggard and crying look, his heart felt cold. Manman, tell me, why did you guess just now? Jian Yuman looked at the female Tang Xinglu, then at Tang Yuj, and immediately told Tang Wentao what Tang Yuj had just guessed and what happened. Tang Wentao's face became more and more ugly as he listened. In the end, it was darker than too low, with bulging veins and suppressed anger that was about to explode at any time. So, it's basically planned by Ranjit. That's right. Tang Xinglu cried more and became sadder. She was actually in more pain than Tang Wentao, but the word mother has become a noun from today on, nothing more. She hated her mother. If it weren't for Lu Rong, she wouldn't have suffered all this pain. If it weren't for Lu Rong, she wouldn't have been raped. If it weren't for Lu Rong, she would still be a happy young lady. Xinglu, Dad will definitely help you get justice. Thank you, Dad. Tang Xinglu's voice was choked with sobs, and her eyes were swollen from crying. Jian Yuman had notified Lu Rong to come over before, even after Tang Wentao. Unexpectedly, Tang Wentao had been here for a while, and Lu Rong was late. Lu Rong walked into the ward with an ugly face, and saw that the atmosphere in the room was not right, especially when she came in. All eyes were turned to her. Her husband Tang Wentao looked at her with cold eyes, while her daughter glared at her with hatred in her eyes. The deep hatred had never been seen in her daughter's eyes. Lu Rong cried and rushed over, hugging Tang Xinglu and wailing. My baby girl, Mom is sorry. Mom shouldn't have left you at that time. If she hadn't left you, nothing would have happened to you. It's just that mom trusted Manman too much and thought she could take you back and keep you safe, but she forgot where it's a bar full of people, there's no place where you girls can protect yourselves. Lu Rong cried and burst into tears. While blaming herself, some accused Qian Yuman of protecting herself but not Tang Xinglu. Even though she has reached this point, she is still using her daughter to suppress Qian Yuman and make Tang Wentao hate Qian Yuman. A vicious-hearted woman will never change no matter what she goes through. Tang Yu's torture of Lu Rong not only made her more vicious, but also unscrupulous, reaching the point of being insane. Tang Xinglu was hugged by her mother. Listening to her words, her heart became even colder. Lu Rong, you are so cruel, and you are still playing tricks. Tang Wentao's expression became even more ugly. He punched the table with his fist and roared angrily at Lu Rong. Lu Rong, you are such a good woman. Today, I, Tang Wentao, have finally seen your true face. You have been a gentle and considerate woman in front of me for so many years. Are you tired? Your daughter is like this, and you are still here playing tricks. Lu Rong held her daughter in her arms and looked at Tang Wentao with a puzzled expression. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1469. Chapter 1469 Teach Thee a Lesson 1. Lu Rong held her daughter in her arms and looked at Tang Wentao with a puzzled expression. Wentao, what are you talking about? What's your true identity? Have I done something wrong? Lu Rong was still pretending to be innocent, with tears in her eyes that she had never heard before, and the look in her eyes when she looked at Tang Wentao was extremely aggrieved. Tang Wentao sneered, walked up to Lu Rong, raised his hand and slapped Lu Rong the face. The force of the strike required almost all his strength, transmitting his anger from this slap to Lu Rong. Lu Rong never expected that Tang Wentao would slap her when she disagreed. The force was so strong that her body could not bear it. She was thrown to the ground, and bright red slap marks quickly appeared on her face. This slap also made Lu Rong feel dizzy. She stared blankly at the ground and covered her face with her left hand. Bitch! Even this slap can hardly dispel the anger in my heart, Tang Wentao roared and scolded Lu Rong again. This roar finally woke up Lu Rong. She raised her head and continued to look at Tang Wentao innocently. Wentao, you, why did you hit me? Is it because I didn't take good care of my daughter? I knew I was wrong. I shouldn't have left my daughter. I was stimulated by what Xinglu said. If I knew if something like this happens to Xinglu, I will never leave her even if I die. Even now Lu Rong is still quibbling and trying to distance herself from it. Tang Yu sneered while watching the excitement, and felt happy when he saw Lu Rong finally being taught a lesson by Tang Wentao. When she intervened in her mother's family, her mother had difficulty in giving birth, her health deteriorated, and she passed away early. Without Lu Rong, his childhood would not have been like that. His hatred for this woman was far more than what he saw on the surface. You bitch, you are still wronging Manman. Others say that tigers are poisonous and do not eat their seeds. As Xinglu's mother, how could you do such a cruel thing and find someone to your daughter? Tang Wentao became angry, grabbed Lu Rong's neck, and roared again. Lu Rong was stunned for a second, and then kept shaking her head. Wentao, what are you talking about? Why are you looking for someone to your daughter? I don't have one. Do you know it well? You really didn't do it on purpose. That's because the person you really raped was Manman. It was just by chance that Xinglu wore Manman's clothes. The person who was raped, I'll become your daughter. How could I be that kind of person? Wentao, I am your wife, your pillow person, Don't you know what kind of person I am? Did Manman misunderstand me and think this matter I did it? Lu Rong is still pretending to be pitiful and has not directly accused Qian Yuman of being the murderer. She is a smart woman. If she accuses Qian Yuman now, it does not match her image, but it will make Tang Wentao even more convinced that Lu Rong is a vicious person. It's a pity that no matter what she says, Tang Yuj and the others will not believe her. No matter how superb your acting skills are, you can't resist the gaze after you take the seat. I've seen through you. I never thought you were such a woman. I really regret marrying you. Another slap hit Lu Rong's face, this time until she vomited blood. Blood-red blood spurted onto the ground, and Lu Rong was also stunned. Lu Rong, let's get a divorce. I, Tang Wentao, can't afford a woman like you. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1470. Chapter 1470 Teach thee a lesson too. Lu Rong, let's get a divorce. I, Tang Wentao, can't afford a woman like you. Wentao, what are you talking about? Why are you divorcing me? I really have nothing to do with this matter. It was all an accident. I did not harm Manman. Lu Rong knelt and crawled to Tang Wentao's side, grabbing his thighs, explained painfully. Do you think there are so many coincidences in this world? You left at the right time. Not long after you left, something happened to your daughter. As a mother, you go to persuade your daughter to go back. You are the kind of person who just says a few words and is stimulated. The one who just left. I was really angry at the time. Xinglu kept driving me away. I was tolerant and had emotions. Why couldn't I leave angrily? Lu Rong was still trying to argue. By the way, you said those people were the ones I called to violently force Manman. Have those people been caught? Caught, what? Are you going to kill people and silence them? Tang Yu sneered at the side. As long as he interrogated those people, he would naturally understand the truth. Just catch them, just catch them. Just catch them, confront me face to face, and ask them if I ask someone to do this. Lu Rong's attitude was firm, and there was no guilt on her face. Ask to confront those people. She is confident and not afraid of confronting gangsters. Because on the way here, the more she thought about things, the more something was wrong, and she made some inquiries about what happened at that time. I learned that the gangsters were caught red-handed and had no chance of escaping. So she deliberately took the money and bribed the gangsters to shut up and not expose her. It cost a lot of money, but the result was worth it, and it gave her confidence. Fortunately, she did this in advance, otherwise she would really be doomed this time. After Tang Wentao heard Lu Rong's words, his belief that Lu Rong was responsible began to waver. Did he really misunderstand Lu Rong and all this was a coincidence? Tang Yuj was still watching. He silently took out his cell phone and asked the police to bring the prisoners over to confront Lu Rong. At the same time, he asked Secretary Zhang to bring over the information bag that he just investigated. This time, Lu Rong must be completely stumbled. This woman's existence is so disgusting. I took Tang Wentao into consideration and didn't let her disappear completely from this world. This time, he must make this suffer the consequences. He will never allow the slightest danger to exist around Qian'er. What Lu Rong did today almost made Qian'er a victim. Although he was the eldest brother Tang Xinglu, he was still glad that there was this misunderstanding. The prisoner was brought over not long after and suppressed in front of Lu Rong. When Lu Rong saw the prisoners, she rushed over and pointed at herself. Do you know me? Tell my husband quickly, do you know me? He hit the two prisoners in front of Lu Rong with his hands and shook his head at the same time. We don't know you. Qian Yuman angrily rushed to the gangsters and punched and kicked them first, regardless of whether there were police officers nearby. Let's save Tang Xinglu's life first. She will beat these gangsters once they see her. Beating them is considered a light thing. These two gangsters were so scared that they didn't dare to hide. Why were they also afraid of Jianyuman? They still remember the scene of Jianyuman shooting. If they were Tang Xinglu at that time, they were shot and sent to the operating room for rescue. People will become them. End of this chapter.